So, well, I had an argument a few months ago, and that's when I got the ticket. And, okay, so I never did. I'm a musician. So
Wait, what do you play for music?
Drums.
Okay. What kind of, what genre?
Everything. I'm a drummer.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so a musician, drummer.
Yeah.
Kind of nervous. That's okay.
And so I kind of wanted to first kind of check in, like, from these debates, how's it going?
It's a very broad question. You want to?
I
can answer broadly.
How do you feel like the progress from what you're trying to achieve from them, and from where you started, and where you are now?
I feel pretty good about them. I think that when it comes to talking about debate and having debates, I think that there's a lot of different types of debates that you can have. I think there's a lot of different things that people are after, and I think you can have a lot of effects in like different areas and on different people in different ways. So it's very general, but for instance, like some people like to have the super TikTok clip farmy debates. Regardless of how I feel about them, they're effective. When people hear those snappy one-liners, everybody laughed when Ted Cruz said we need to stop bullying pedophiles, I think was the misspeak, the epic misspeak that he had recently. But and then sometimes in front of the congressional hearings, you've got the people that hold the posters and try to get the clips right. That works. Long-form debates, I think, are cool if the people are really well-informed. You can get really into subjects. Seeing people debate, I think, is good because there's like the idea of two people being able to still talk. There's something that happens there, some like common denominator that has to be created in order for the conversation to happen. Sometimes at like the very, very end of dead relationships, it's when it's not when they're fighting, it's when they've totally stopped talking to each other that it's like completely hopeless. So I think as long as people are still arguing, it's good. More personally for me, I think just because of the size of my audience and the size of the audiences I reach, I can kind of do anything and still get positive feedback. So it's hard to figure out like what works. Like sometimes in really aggressive debates, I'll get people that email me and they'll say like, hey, like I'm glad that you're a voice out there that makes me feel sane. Sometimes when I'm nicer, I'll get people that email me and say, hey, I like that you didn't trash this dude and made me feel like you were willing to hear my point of view. So yeah, I mean, there's a little bit out there for everything. Yeah, it's kind of broad, but.
Okay, well, so I had the greatest argument on earth.
Okay.
And I was excited for it. I bought the ticket. A week before this event, they send me an email with a bunch of rules.
Okay.
And to me, it made no sense because I had a way of how I could prove the earth is flat. I had it. No, I'm not even joking.
Go ahead. But how do you prove the earth is flat? Why not?
Well, this was what was wrong, is that it's round like a plate. And when you walk across, you flip over.
Okay.
But then I get an email, no bad faith arguments, and I was like, what is that? I don't even know what that means. And like I can put the words together, but I didn't know the actual definition. And I was like, this is ridiculous, because the only way you can have a Trump argument and debate is in bad faith. So the fact that you're putting those rules on me, because my only point of evidence was I was going to Catalina Island, and the boat, I knocked my head, woke up 30 minutes later in Shanghai, China. But obviously that's not true, but that's how you have to debate like them. Or you heard someone and that happened to. And so it kind of feels like clipping my wings. And, like think about when athletes were doing steroids. You can be honest and not do steroids, but everyone else is, so you just look like a little bitch.
I'm assuming you're making a broader point that it's hard to have like good faith conversations because everybody else kind of is not after that, or are we really just talking about using steroids for sports?
Well, I'm using that as an
Sure.
analogy, but what I'm kind of getting at is that you can't debate Trumpers or Republicans and actually expect to influence their mind, because they're either really dumb or they're doing it in bad faith. And what you got to do if you're trying to like really reach them is first earn, in a sense, like the friendship and the general shared like humanity experience, like we still get along. And then when you're comfortable with them, you earn their trust. Then you're like start being like, oh, you know what? This is what I believe in. It's a whole art to like talking with dumb people. Not even dumb, but like I'm dumb, It's like I'm a drummer. Fuck yeah.
I mean, like I think so.
And I know that, so I know who to listen to. I know when people kind of like, what I like about you is you read the primary source. And so it's like, okay, I'm not doing that, but I can trust someone to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people don't realize that. So you're not going to actually really reach them with this. You have to act in a little bit of bad faith. And I got a couple of examples from when I see you debating like those college students.
Sure. Can I just address what you said before? I think I probably agree. The best way to change somebody's mind is to literally be like one of their closest friends, and then over time you have conversations, and like any friend group is going to pick up slang and vernacular, or they'll pick up ideas or memes, or they'll pick up eventually political beliefs or ideologies. Like that definitely happens. I think that there are different ways that things can plug in at different stages, though, even if you're not directly related to that process. So like if you have a friend and it's somebody that you talk to and you kind of argue with over time, who's a close friend, it's nice to know the arguments. So sometimes like watching, whether you go to school or watch a debater or watch a YouTube documentary or whatever, like having the information in your head, I think can kind of help you along that process as well, even if the debater guy himself isn't the one who's actually moving the person,
Yeah, I see that, and I guess what I was kind of coming at when I thought it'd be worthwhile getting some FaceTime was to show you, like, really demonstrate when you're on the street, when you're traveling the country, like the real kind of things you have to deal with. And in the process of that, at this time, it doesn't seem to be working. And for example, like when I saw the college students, there might be some places like I can understand the love of a sport and seeing debating as just like, some verbal or like mental sparring. So I get that. But what I'm saying is like people get hung up on trends. And it is something kind of big that you can't ignore. Like logically, I agree with you that, there's so many problems out there. I mind my own business, you mind yours. Like I kind of get that, but I have a housemate that he refuses to mess with a lady unless he knew her since they were children or she's a mother. Otherwise, she's a man.
Otherwise, she what?
She's a man.
Okay.
According to him. That's how.
Oh, this is like a trans thing.
Yeah, this is how prevalent it is in people's minds. I'm not saying, and so what I'm getting at is when you try to like brush it over, like how many, it doesn't really have that effect. Where you kind of got to just make it American. If you're trying to talk to and reach these dumb people, you got to kind of make it American and sexy. Where you got to go in with that, like, what? As long as you don't hurt nobody, I don't mind. You do what you need to do. I'll do what I need to do. We're all coexisting. And then a little gospel. Be like, and who am I to cast the first stone? Where if I don't know what it's like to want pussy so much that you lop off your own wiener just so you got your own cunt. And that way, if you're in like LA traffic, you got something. Wait. And
yeah, I mean, like I understand what you're talking about in terms of types of arguments and things that can work, but I guess what I would say is that like no single vote determines the outcome of an election, generally speaking. But if everybody has that mindset, then you lose like kind of the power of your vote. I think that like one debate or one argument or one YouTube video or one discussion with a friend or one real life experience of a person generally isn't enough to totally change somebody's point of view. But I think it kind of takes everybody working together to make that happen. I think Republicans have done really good at this. Like they've done so, it's intentional. They've done so much like double speak and double play to where they'll simultaneously make it sound like things are hopeless. I make this joke a lot. Like I think it's 70 to 80% of conservatives still believe that the 2020 election was rigged, but that didn't discourage any of them from voting in 2024. There's something amazing that's happening there where these people believe that Democrats are widespread rigging elections, but they still go out and vote. Or that they think that the Biden crime family is the most criminal family ever, but when Biden gets criminal immunity due to a Trump case, not a single conservative really cares about it. They're not really afraid of it. So I think that Republicans have been playing this game for a long time, where a whole bunch of them, from top to bottom, from talk radio to mainstream media to alternative media to leaking into the comedian world to the Gamergate world and everything else, they've been like playing this like 700 front war constantly. And especially after the last election, I think liberals like super woke up. They kind of did in 2016. We all owe that screaming girl an apology. Okay, she had no idea how right she was. And then even in 2020, when we won, it really wasn't as much as it should have been, honestly, against a guy like that, especially after everything. And then in 2024, I was like, Jesus, something is like super broken. And I think too often, we want to look for a simple solution to any problem. We want to look for like one thing we can do. But the reality is that conservatives are so far ahead in so many different ways, and they've been like fighting this war on so many different fronts, that for us to catch up, I think we also kind of have to start pushing back on a lot of different fronts. And like having a friend and convincing him is good, but like all the other stuff I think is probably good and necessary as well. Yeah. I
mean, yeah, I'm not saying it's not necessary, but I'm saying to actually do some like serious damage for like unfucking America. Mm-hmm. And like another thing is, Christianity. That's another one that gets hung up on. Like they're not really Christian. What they're doing doesn't follow the gospel. And so, but you still got to say, oh, I'm a Christian. It's because it's operating in bad faith. So it's okay, I think, to operate in bad faith back and be like, yeah, I'm a Christian too, like, because I do believe in the gospel. But then you kind of have to like fuck with their mind a bit and go do like, oh man, yeah, my favorite verse, da-da-da-da-da. What is it, like John 35:11? I believe the shortest verse in all of biblical history, where it's only 2 words, Jesus wept. And from that kind of shows, like, it's less is more, it speaks such volumes of meaning, where, Jesus is on the same plane as us with that emotional distress and that heaviness of existence. And it's also thought-provoking, because if Jesus wept, did he come too?
All right.
Final thought, I guess. Like, I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying. The only thing I would change slightly is, like, you don't have to frame it necessarily as cynically, I think, right? Like, it doesn't have to be like this super subversive bad faith process. You could also just like be a good Christian and like talk to your other Christian friends and kind of like move them in a better direction as well, you know? Like, one thing that I bring up a lot when I hear religious people talk about religion when it comes to politics is religion is always kind of used as this exciting weapon that they can wield to further whatever their personal beliefs or desires are. And I never hear it used in kind of like a restraining way, you know, where it's like I use the illegal immigrant example, you know, for somebody to say, man, there's a lot of illegals here, it's a burden on the system, but, you know, what do they say in the Bible? We have to take care of our fellow neighbor. You never hear anybody use their religion in like a restraining way. It's always used to like galvanize support in some aggressive manner. So I agree generally with what you're saying. I don't think it has to have like the super, you know, covert ops, malevolent, secret tinge to it. But I do agree, yeah.
I'm saying then you might as well like change the name of the tours and the protests to, like No Kings and Unfuck America. What you're really saying, because as a debate, it's more of a sport, and not going to really undermine it all, but just say like fuck Trump, because that's what it's saying. Because if you really wanted to unfuck America, there's only one way. There's only one way possible you can do it.
Pull your dick out of it? I don't know what.
Nah.
What's that where we're going with this?
That's how you change the name. But the only way, if you really wanted to do it, is honestly you would have to run me for president with one campaign promise. And this is using my Supreme Court appointed executive ability and power as president to force Joe Biden, like a dog, behind the Resolute desk and govern the nation. And if anybody has a problem with it, they can talk to me. And meanwhile, me and Vice President Hunter Biden, all we're doing is smoking crack rock and fucking some...
All right. Let's put our hands together for Charlie. Thank you for coming up here, Charlie. Great run. He had a great run. We gotta agree. And he looks fly tonight. He looks fly. Do we have by the way, the Pangburn dialectical rules, all these rules he was talking about. So by good faith, I simply mean sincerity of intentions. If you Google good faith, it's going to talk about sincerity of intentions. So you got to have sincere intentions to have a good conversation on the Pangburn stage. Jordan Peterson, Dinesh D'Souza, all these guys have to agree to this. And then you also have to agree to be helpful. And then in the dialectical sense, being helpful in the debate sense would be if your interlocutor is struggling a little bit to deliver the strongest form of their argument, you help them to do that. You reach out and help them do that so you know you're contending with the strongest form of their argument, not only by their standards, but by your standards as well. So those are the Pangburn dialectical rules. Good faith and helpfulness. Christian Fan, are you in the house now? Yes, come on up. Put it together for Christian Fan. He's looking nice. He's got his army green jacket on. Go ahead, shake the hand of destiny.
Oh, hello? Okay.
Also, in case you were wondering in that last debate, that guy was the average drummer for a band. So it's about what they're all. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I'll say I've been following your career since like 2010, so it's kind of insane to talk to you in person. So
cool. 2010.
Yes.
Like Ustream, live stream.
Yes.
Okay, geez.
StarCraft
All
2,
right.
yes.
Nice and close to the mic.
Oh yeah, close to the microphone.
Right
Okay.
on
Yeah.
that thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been watching since like you stream the days, and then you transition to like to Justin TV, then Twitch, and then you got screwed by that owned company.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, what's up? What do you hear?
Okay, so I just want to talk about Trump's versus Biden's trade policy versus China. So I think that overall, I think I understand why Trump is trying to do tariffs and all these crazy economic policies. I think it's mostly to bring back manufacturing from the world and to change everything and to, I guess, cripple China in a way. So I don't think that is necessarily a wrong decision from Trump, but I don't think it's like it's not a wrong idea to bring back those things, but it's also not a economically wise idea at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is how I would approach this. Okay, so let's zoom out first. Okay.
Yeah.
If I wanted to fight with China, I feel like the first thing I would do is I would shore up my economic alliances with my most important trading partners. So
Yes.
in our case, it would be Canada and Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like Trump has been a disaster as far as that goes, right?
Yeah, but Biden has as well too. So.
In what comparable way?
So there's things like, so I work in semiconductors, so I'm an engineer in that field. So one thing Biden did that was absolutely crazy was banning the AI chips export to China. What that did was it essentially incentivized the private and public industry to work together and to make their own alternatives and their own supply chain. So now we have a bunch of $1 billion of China public government invested making these chips, making their own supply, and then getting separate from the U.S. And then Biden pretty much gave them an incentive to actually do that. So
How does if we tariff all of China, how does that not give them an incentive to literally just do that with every single thing though?
I mean, I don't agree with the tariffs in general, but
I'm just saying if I was to compare one policy for the other, it feels like that would be that on crack. Like what Trump is doing with tariffing every single thing would just make it so China could do every single thing, right? Like they would just onshore all their manufacturing, whatever that means.
Yeah, but I think I don't know if you heard about recently Trump he's kind of loosening those export restrictions.
They're loosening and tightening all the time. It's hard to know where they're actually at, right?
But I feel like Trump is he's more willing to do more business friendly. He's more willing to not in tariff way, but more willing to do business with China in a way because he's making sure that we can sell chips to China, which is good for my industry, what I work in. And he's making sure that China is more dependent on our silicon too.
Well, so then are we trying to compete with China or are we trying to work with China? Because I don't know now. I feel like
both. You can do both.
If we're selling them all the stuff that they need to continue to grow their own, manufacturing and high-level tech stuff, how is that hurting them?
It's
if it was hurting them so much, wouldn't they just put an import restriction on it?
Well, that's so there's things called the private companies in China, the Alibabas. Are you aware of them? Like the Tencents and.
I'm unfortunately aware of Tencent. Yeah, I play a lot of League. But yeah, large companies usually have. I think some state, partly SEO, partly Chinese involvement with some of these, right?
Yeah, but most of them they don't want to do they didn't originally want to do their own investments into their own chips because it's a very high intensive research and development cost, right? You can't just I'm going to make my own AI chips. That's very expensive to do, right? You have to hire everyone to do all that capex spending. So they were okay with buying American chips. And for a lot of big companies in China, they just buy American chips because it's just more convenient for them to do. But now with Biden doing the export policy, he's basically giving them okay, this is something the U.S. can do, and they're willing to do, and they're willing to go beyond regular trading policies. And now China and no Chinese companies can depend on U.S. silicon.
I guess the thing that I'm not understanding from this position is whether or not you want to work with China and sell them chips or not sell them chips. It feels like the Trump position you like because we're being more adversarial towards China, but now you're saying that you didn't like Biden's position because he was adversarial in this way, but you think by being adversarial in this way it's actually more helpful to them.
It's different because what Biden did was he banned the entire trade of the H100 chips from NVIDIA.
Sure.
But what Trump is doing, he's saying, okay, you can sell to China, but we get a cut of that revenue, which is a good idea because now we can use the revenue to reinvest into America infrastructure. So it's not a bad idea.
I mean, I don't know if the revenue cut that we're getting there is necessarily worth it. There's like a top-down world where I can see this happening, but the issue that I have is that I don't see. So like I said before, the first thing I would say is you shore up like economic alliances. The second thing would be that you isolate China in strategic ways, and then the third way would be that you make investments in industries, or you help your friends make investment in industries that would also be like threatening towards whatever it is you want to try to inhibit China from doing. I feel like Trump doesn't have any kind of like top-down cohesive view of anything. So even when he like might make accidentally the right move, it's hard to even give him credit for it because it's not part of a more comprehensive plan and it might be rolled back like immediately. Like I feel like do you feel like do you genuinely feel like in 1 to 2 years that America is going to be better positioned against China because of what Trump has done compared to what Kamala or even Biden 2.0 would have done?
So it's hard to say because like there's no one answer for economics. Like things were like it's not like, oh, we did this, it did that, blah blah blah. Like right, it's not going to be a linear path. But what Biden did was more insane because I don't think it's ever happened in like history of trade with China where you're banning a company from doing like a trade, and like that's something this is a very important like product they're selling to them. And now you made all the Chinese companies, you made the government realize they cannot depend on U.S. anymore for anything. Like so they have to do it. Even though their chips right now are inferior, they have to do it no matter what.
Yeah, but I'm sure they were probably working towards that anyway, right?
They were, but it was not as intense before the Biden.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's an inevitability, like, why not accelerate the time? Like, if we're assuming that this is like the way to go, like, shouldn't America just be investing in their own chips and continuing on that road?
It would be nice to do that, but at the same time, a lot of these semiconductor companies in America, a lot of the revenues come from China. So if you aware of a company called Qualcomm? Qualcomm.
Oh yeah, they make Snapdragon chips and everything, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So something like 60-70% of the revenue is from China. So if you're saying no trade with China, you're basically bankrupting that company. So
yeah, but I mean, but like this is like the problem though, right? Is the idea that somehow America has to stand alone and be this like monster for manufacturing and everything else, but then also we want to go to war with every single country on the planet. Yeah. Like you talk about like how painful it might be to cut off access to China. How painful is it for all of our exporters that are facing tariffs around the world now as a result of Trump tariffing everything else? Right?
I don't agree with tariffs. I think tariffs are bad in general.
Sure. I think it's the cornerstone of Trump's economic policy, so it's hard to be critical of those and supportive of his policy in general, right?
I'm trying to say like I don't support every 100% of all of Trump's policies. I think most of them are not based on reality. I think I'm more.
So you mentioned from a business perspective. Okay, so what do you, in my opinion, there's one word I'm thinking of, like the most important thing that you can have as a business is more important than anything else. What would you think? What would you guess I'm thinking?
Free trade.
No, well that's 2 words. But no, actually, not even free trade. It's stability, right? I want to know if I invest in something, is it going to be there in 5 years? I want to know if there's going to be like a reliable way to calculate my revenue, my future markets, whatever else. Like it has to be reliable. Otherwise, you get these huge tail projections where you don't know if a country's going to expropriate all your stuff, if there's going to be a violent revolution, if a country's going to make something that you do illegal. Like that could all be horrible. So I feel like when people say that Trump is like good for business, I feel like Trump has created one of the most uncertain like financial atmospheres in any of my lifetime. Maybe in the past 100 years of U.S. history. Because who's to say what the tariff is going to be tomorrow? Who's to say, since none of this is being passed through legislation, who's to say it'll even survive the court orders? Who's to say the next president won't just rescind all of it? Who's to say that a deal won't be struck with some country because they say they're trying to strike deals with countries? Well, if I'm going to set up a manufacturing fab in the United States and the only way it's going to be competitive is with a 50% tariff with all my competitors overseas, but I know that Trump is also trying to negotiate deals with those people, why would I even bother investing, right? I don't know how that's going to look. So I feel like it's horrible when it comes to stability, which is like one of the most important things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I actually.
Well, how the fuck can you like his economic policy then?
No, I never said I liked all of it. I like parts of it. Like I think.
How does that even make sense though?
I know, because I think what like.
If I gave you like a steak wrapped in diarrhea shit, and you had to eat the whole thing, would you say I liked a little bit of it?
I mean, it's yes or no, so yes.
No, you wouldn't, right? I don't understand this. Because you gave me one. Did you hate all of Biden's economic policy, or did you just not like that one restriction that he put on chips?
I think the whole America is like going like ever since like 2016, like the whole like America been brainwashed to be like China hawks. It's like really stupid in general because you want to do more business around the world. You want to make more money. You want to.
I actually agree with that. I would be slightly critical of Biden for kind of carrying that on, but like that was because of Trump.
Yeah,
Trump is like the number one China hawk. Like this guy's talking about war with China and future conflict with China all the time.
Yeah, but he didn't go as far to ban AI chips. I mean,
there might have been one thing he chose, but like he's done like every other possible thing he can to like we just had this huge thing with the soybean farmer stuff with Venezuela and China or Argentina. Sorry, my bad.
I mean that's why like this is the only thing I would disagree with Biden. Like I don't think like you know how like he did like the solar panel tariffs and the EV tariffs. So like
sure.
100%. Like how does that help America at the end of the day?
I mean, I don't disagree, but these are like free trade positions, and Donald Trump is like the biggest hater of free trade in the universe. So I just don't understand. At the end of the day, right? Like, so if I ask you, like, who do you think is better on trade? We'll just say on trade, and then economics in general, like Trump versus Biden. Like, why do you favor Trump still, or?
I mean, some aspect. I like because I don't know who's who's the crazier person. Like, is it Trump or Biden on China hawk policy? Because like. Every time someone escalates, someone else has to escalate higher and higher and higher until they're like the biggest China hawk at the end of the day.
Yeah, but who do you think was driving anti-Chinese sentiment more? The guy who was apparently too tired and sleepy to even run his office, or the guy who called it the Kung Flu?
I don't think the words like rhetoric. I mean, like the policy-wise, it's more. I think Trump started it. Yes, I agree with that, but. Biden, he didn't stop. He's like, oh, I'm doubling down.
Well, on some things he did. I think it's hard once you've taken a combative posture, though, to kind of like levying a tariff, as I just say it, but like you have to engage in some kind of like trade agreement to start to bring these down collectively, because you don't want to be the one to bring it down alone. So I feel like I do disagree with Biden continuing, and I think even adding to a couple of the tariffs. I think it had to do with like electric vehicles, and I think it might have been solar panels or something. But like all of this, I see is like driven hardcore by MAGA and Trump. And then it's always like a weird thing to me when somebody will point out like one issue with Biden's policy, and then when it comes to trade or economics, then I'll ask about Trump, and it's like, yeah, that was bad, yeah, that was horrible, yeah, that was crazy, yeah, that was the worst thing ever. But like, I still think it's like, overall, like, what are we looking at? Like, what's the saving grace here, I guess?
So, I mean, both. Well, I would say both Biden and Trump will contribute to the economic downfall of the U.S.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, I think scratching your, hand over and over again and like increases the risk for staph infection. But there's so many other ways you can kill yourself. I don't want to make these jokes right now. Sorry, bad joke. Yeah. There are a lot of things that can be bad, but there's like significantly different magnitudes of badness between the two, right?
Yeah. I mean. Okay, yeah. I mean, overall,
like, do you think most of the world was happier or more upset trading with America or seeing America as a trading partner with Biden or with Trump? How do you even have to think about this?
I mean, pre-2016, it was because Biden was the vice president, right? So it was better pre-2016, yeah.
Well, but 2016 to 2020 versus 2021 to 2025 or 4.
Because we're saying like, okay, like the world now, because like the world, China is like a huge GDP. I mean, like they were not happy with those tariffs and policies, so it's hard to say.
With what tariffs?
EV tariffs and solar tariffs.
They probably weren't happy with the 145% tariffs that Trump put on their entire market as well, no?
Yeah, but they weren't happy, but like I think Trump is basically using that like as like a negotiating tactic. Like I know a lot of those.
Which crypto bro podcaster do you watch? I need to know which one it is. The Sachs one or which one of these guys? I know it's one of these guys.
Wait, who?
There's all these crypto bro finance podcaster guys who are all huge Trump fans.
I don't watch it. I don't do that.
Okay, yeah. I can't understand this. Help me understand this. When I look at Trump, I see everybody around the world hates the United States in terms of unreliability for trade. Yeah. He lied. You acknowledge he lied when he held up, like, this is what the tariffs are from other countries to us, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That was just a lie. So when he calls our tariffs reciprocal, that's also a lie.
Yeah.
And then we have, I think it's still 0 actual trade agreements with any other country. We said we'd have 100 and 100 days. So that was, I said, I won't have to call it a lie. I guess we'll call it unfulfilled.
I mean, you're asking me to, like, I can defend all Trump's.
I'm not asking you to defend all of it. I'm asking you to defend any of it. And but then for Biden, it's like, well, he doubled some tariffs that maybe we shouldn't have doubled that were already like on the way under Trump. But that's like ignoring all the rest of everything else too. I just don't understand how we can hate Biden for this one policy and forgive Trump for every other misstep and disastrous adventure we've been on. Yeah.
I guess like the goal of this conversation is like to understand like where because you can't agree with every politician and everything, right? That's impossible at the end of the day, right?
I agree with you, but like I'm looking for anything to salvage my Trump policy here. Like what?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like Trump is better on these anti-restriction, like right now, because like when Biden did,
you don't even like there were like a few months ago you wouldn't even have been able to safely say that because the tariff rates were changing like every few hours. Like some news that was like live to tape, like that they would report a tariff that had already changed.
Yeah.
And then like this is now, right? So far we're only at war with Venezuela and I guess our own population and Chicago and Portland and everything. But like who's to say, what's going to happen with Taiwan and China in 6 to 12 months if Trump has eliminated all of his domestic enemies? Like it's just like it's so much instability, it's so much lack of vision. Like I look at Besant, like a well-meaning father who's trying to explain why his son is a serial killer, but he's actually a good kid. Like every time he's on media trying to explain Trump's insanity to the news. Howard Lutnick is just fucking insane. Like I don't know what this guy where he even came from. Like,
I mean, like yeah, they're all insane. but
all right, you get the last words
ahead,
there, Christian.
Okay, so I mean, I guess that's that's one of my things I hate about Biden's policy and from the Democrats in general. But overall, I don't agree with anything about Trump. And the last thing I want to say is we should save StarCraft 2.